Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's January 24th, 2016, and this week we're going to do a lesson on how to make easy chords for blues guitar. This week's question was sent in from Cesar. He's out in old Jamestown, Missouri, and he wrote in with this email. I want to play blues, but the large 7th chords I've been trying out for the 12-bar blues are too difficult for my level of ability. Is there another way to play a 12-bar blues but with smaller chords? I've seen a few country blues players make small chords. They look like only 2 or 3 notes, but I'm at a loss for how they're doing it. Could you show examples of how the easy blues chords work? From Cesar in old Jamestown, Missouri, USA. Well, thanks for writing in, Cesar. Chords, whether we're working in the style of blues, jazz, country, or rock, or whatever, they all can be broken down into much smaller chord voicings. Now, these smaller versions are not just used by guitar players who want to have an easier shape during the time and where their skills are still developing. These smaller chord types are also great for playing in larger bands when there's more instruments playing rhythm in song parts. So in this lesson, we're going to look at how a couple of the large blues chords can be chopped down into smaller 2 or 3 note versions. These smaller chords can be used as replacements for any dominant 7th chord at any time in any style. So let's zoom in on the neck and get started with these shapes. Well, let's get started by taking a look at how a larger chord voicing can be broken into smaller shapes that are not only easier to play, but it'll also offer us a few new options when we're either performing with a larger band ensemble or, if we want to add on embellishment tones around the groove. So if we begin from a really common 6-string root dominant 7th chord, it's a C7 that I'm going to be using in the examples. It's at 8th fret position. Now this shape, generally can be kind of a problem for beginner and intermediate level players because it involves bar chording, and bar chording can take a while to get down. So if this shape is just not happening for you, we can isolate the primary tones within that shape and create a nice smaller voicing on the central strings. Now, first of all, if we look at the chord tones, we got a C, an E, a G, and a B flat that makes up the root 3rd, 5th, and the flat 7 tones of the C dominant 7th chord. Now those tones, aside from the root, because the bass player, if you're jamming in a band, the bassist is going to take care of that bass tone. So we're going to take care of the flat 7, the major 3rd, and the perfect 5th inside of a small shape that's going to be located on the 4th through 2nd strings. It looks like so. Now there's another really cool option of adding an upper 7th degree on our 2nd string just to kind of boost that dominant 7th effect of the chord. It winds up being the B flat, of course. And in this shape that I'm going to run through here, it's going to include the root. So we'll have a C, we'll have an E, which is major 3rd, and we're also going to have that B flat, that flat 7 up on top. So that's another really cool sound. And these shapes are definitely smaller, they're easier to play, but they also offer us an opportunity here for adding on other sounds. So let's check this out next. Let's say we're working in the dominant 7th pattern within strings 4th through 2nd. That was that first shape I showed you, the small one. That's no root. And when we take this idea and we just add on a suspended 4th interval, that's a really neat sound to add on. It's a really cool idea. You'll hear it in a lot of blues tunes. And I have an example to show you. It's a really straightforward idea where it takes the C7 shape, and we're going to play that as 8th notes up front. So we'll have 1 and then on the upbeat of 2, we're going to throw in that suspended. So we're adding in this tone here. It's actually an F. We're blocking out the E, so that's our suspension. And then we're coming back around again to the C7 on the upbeat of 3, sustains over the beat of 4, and then in the second measure of the groove, we're going to have the C7 chord showing up again, 1 and 2 and then it sustains over beats 3 and 4. So this is the groove. It goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. All right, so that's a really neat idea. Also, we can add on an extended tone really easily. If we add on the 10th fret of 2nd string, that's an A tone, we get the sound of the 13th interval added onto our dominant 7th chord. And what I've done here is I've taken again that small 3-note shape that we had started with, and all I got to do is add on the 10th fret. and I've got my 13th in there real quick. I've got a groove going on for this too. I'd like to show you. It's all eighth notes up front. On the downbeat 2, we're going to have that 13th show up, and then it's going to go back to this dominant 7th. On the second measure, again on the downbeat of 2, we're going to have the A show up the 13th, and it's going to sustain out. So it's going to sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and just like that. So as you can tell, these smaller shapes are quicker and easier to grab at on the neck. And they're also going to make it a lot easier to tag other optional tones as well. I've given you a couple, but there's a lot of other ideas you can mess around with. So we're going to take a quick break, come back in a moment, and we're going to check out what's happening with some voicings based off of the 5th guitar string. Well, next I want to take a look at another group of dominant 7th shapes, this time built from off of the 5th guitar string. Let's begin with a very common dominant 7th chord pattern based off of the 5th string. Here's how it looks. It's based in 6th position. It's an F dominant 7th chord. I'm using the root, the major 3rd, the flat 7, and then we have an octave of the F up on top there. Now, for a lot of people, that's not too bad of a chord to grab into. Even beginners can usually, make that shape and have some success with it, intermediate students as well. But sometimes just getting the fingering in quickly, as fast as you would need it for a song, can be kind of difficult. So we're going to really break this down into a really easy shape to get started with here. If we take the lower group of 3 chord tones from this chord, we get a very popular, easy to play, smaller chord pattern that's excellent for jamming on in all kinds of rhythm situations. And it's just 3 notes. It's taking the root of F, the major 3rd, and then you got your flat 7 tone up top there. So we've got an F, we've got an A, and we've got an E flat up top. And that's a very popular one. Another idea is to extend the voicing of this shape to the upper 3 strings. Now, how you think of that is you're taking your original shape, and then you're thinking about extending it across the neck so that upper 3 string set between 3rd and 1st gives us a shape that's going to take care of our flat 7, our root. That flat 7, by the way, is on the 3rd string, 8th fret. The root will be on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and then up top we have our perfect 5th interval right there. So it doesn't have when you're pardon me, when you're breaking this shape down, the shape is basically missing that major 3rd, so it has no A in it. It's just got the flat 7 and the root and then the 5th up top, but it's still enough to really give us that effect of that chord. And that's a nice one. There is one more, though, that I want to show you as well. And it's really just taking a look at, the 5th chord tone that can be thought of as being up over here, because remember, this voicing doesn't have the 5th. But if you make a power chord off of an F at the 8th fret, you do get the 5th interval, obviously, there at the 10th fret. It's a C tone on the 4th string. Now, we're going to omit the low bass tone. We're going to have that C tone, the perfect 5th. And we're going to have the flat 7, and we're going to get that major 3rd now up on top. So it's kind of like a similar fingering shape that we were just doing back there at 6th position, but we're transferring it from the 3rd to 1st strings as a shape to the 4th to 2nd strings, and it's just giving us some other intervals from that F7 chord. Now, if you're familiar with an F7th bar chord off of the 5th string, it's basically the interior of that chord. So again, just a smaller shape, but it's really just a similar fingering pattern to what we had done at 6th fret position off the 3rd string. Now we're moving it to 4th. So, this is a nice one for sort of punching through in the mix if you're doing this high version. And then this is another one that's kind of nice for a warm sound, including that 5th chord tone in the bass. Kind of an interesting sound off that. But I want to move on here to a really cool aspect of the use of these upper string shapes in how easily we can add on 9th and 13th chord tone extensions. It's a really nice sound that a lot of players apply. It allows for the original chord harmony to quickly receive some pretty cool articulation when playing the rhythm parts. So what I'm going to do is I have a groove so you can hear how this operates. The groove is going to use that high F dominant 7th chord. That's on the upper 3 strings. And then what we're going to do is from that shape is move up to a bar at 8th fret, So that's going to create the sound of an F9. If you know your large F9 shape, it's just the upper portion of that. We're going to go back to that F7. And then what we're going to do is go forward and add on the 13th, which is going to be this high D here at the 10th fret. If you're familiar with the large, 5th string root, dominant 13th shape, it's just the upper portion of that. So how the riff functions, though, is we've got some quarter notes up front going 1, 2, 3, and with some eighths. We have a quarter rest. We're going to go back to that original shape on eighth notes, 1 and then we're going to move up and do the 13th. On the upbeat of 2, holding over the beats of 3 and 4. So we get it sounding like this. It's a really neat sound. Now, before I wrap up, though, I really like, probably my favorite sound is I like the sound of the suspended 4th interval on dominant 7th chords. I wanted to demonstrate one final example for you of how this suspension can be added to the color of a small dominant 7th shape to produce a really cool sounding articulation for harmony. Now, I'm going to use that F7th shape that's built from the 4th to the 2nd strings at 8th position. And what I'm going to do is just really simple idea. I'm going to add on the suspended tone up at the top there. So remember that the major third of this F major, or F dominant 7th chord, pardon me, is an A. So up top, that's your A. And to create the suspended 4th, we're going to add in a B flat to block out that major third and put the 4th in there. If you're not familiar with what a suspended chord does, I do have a video covering that idea, but it's basically suspending the chord from having its third interval, which produces its color and quality. So we suspend that out by adding the 4th here. And the groove that I put together for you, it goes like this. It has a quarter note up front. I'm going to start on the F7 in the first measure. It's going to be 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then I'm just going to add in the suspension. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. As simple as that. A really cool little idea. You can take these ideas as well and move them all around the neck. If you're doing a 12-bar blues in the key of F, your other chords are going to be a B flat chord and a C chord. So you can just take that shape that we were just playing and move them through other chords. Have a lot of fun with this stuff. So it's super cool. It's really easy and accessible. The fingerings are fairly simple, and you just got to learn where everything fits together. Run through the examples that I've given you here, and just have some fun with this stuff, and use it and apply it, and that way it'll become a part of your playing. Breaking chord patterns like these dominant 7th shapes into smaller voicings will not just allow for a much easier time with creating fingering patterns on the neck, they also allow for us to more easily add different chord embellishments like we saw with how we added the 9th and the 13th and those suspended 4th tones. Plus, this also means that if you're still learning how to make chords, you can always cut back the larger patterns using this concept. But once you're able to perform these shapes, which probably won't take too long, you can also start easily adding in those other chord tones as well. It's a quick way to kind of kill two birds with one stone while learning more about chords overall. Anyways, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, I want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if possible, consider a small donation to help fund this guitar lessons project here. Every little bit counts. Otherwise, have yourself a great week, and I will catch up with you next time. Bye for now. I'd like to take a moment to mention another guitar video lesson project I've started. It's a unique guitar lesson approach that I'm doing online, and it's not like anything I've done before. Best of all, it's 100% free. I've called this approach guitar micro lessons, and they're a great way to learn a few new licks or riffs or chord shapes each week. Now, these guitar micro lessons are quick and easy to learn from. They're very short, with each lesson running between only 1.5 to 2 minutes in length. They're published to YouTube from Monday to Thursday on my other Guitar Blog Update YouTube channel, and you can either subscribe to that channel to guarantee getting each new episode, or just visit the channel whenever it's convenient for you and check out the new micro lessons in the playlist on the Guitar Blog Update channel's homepage. The Music Reading Phase 1 ebook has over 30 pages of comprehensive project lessons covering the entire fifth reading position on the guitar. Music reading charts and drills will work to help students memorize the placement of the fifth position notes, including important sharp and flat tones. Several original and classic pieces of sheet music will help students to gain a solid understanding for this region of the neck. Rhythm studies, duration examples, plus song and location drills along with 19 MP3 audio tracks makes this one of the best music reading courses available online. Music Reading Phase 1 is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.